Picture this, Northern California, late 1960s. A man calling himself Zodiac began sending letters to the police. He was bragging about his crimes, taunting investigators, and absolutely demanding their attention. And the craziest part? Over 50 years later, nobody knows who he really was. So let's dive right into this explainer. This is the story of the Zodiac Killer.
We're starting off in December 1968. You have a young couple, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, and they're parked on a quiet, isolated road near Vallejo, California. Just a typical winter evening, right? Well, suddenly another car pulls up. Shots ring out into the cold night. David actually died instantly, and Betty Lou tried desperately to run for her life, but she collapsed just a short distance away. This brutal, tragic act is widely considered to be Zodiac's first confirmed attack, a violent spark that left local police completely baffled.
Then, the horror escalated just a few months later, July 1969. Another couple is targeted under incredibly similar circumstances at Blue Rock Springs Park. Darlene Farron was killed, but Mike Mago, amazingly, survived the ambush. But here is where the trajectory of the entire case changes. Just hours after the gunshots, a man calls the police and calmly takes credit for both attacks. This was the very first time Zodiac actually made his chilling presence known, taking these local tragedies and turning them into a full-blown national nightmare.
When we pull up the timeline here, you can see how this all builds. These attacks were happening in rapid succession. We go from that initial Vallejo attack in late '68, straight into Blue Rock Springs the following summer, and directly into the fall of '69. This marks a terrifying, real-time evolution. He wasn't cooling down, he was escalating his violence at a genuinely alarming pace. We're watching him transform from a local murderer into a highly calculated serial killer.
And you know, this perfectly illustrates his psychological need for power. Zodiac started sending these letters to local newspapers, including the San Francisco Chronicle. Why? Because he wanted to feel untouchable. He was openly mocking law enforcement and demanding front-page attention. The guy absolutely craved the spotlight. It was actually in these very letters that he cemented his infamous moniker, proving he wasn't just interested in the crimes, but in the psychological terror that followed them.
51. Think about that number for a second. That is exactly how many years it took for a dedicated team of codebreakers to finally crack just one of the 4 complex encrypted ciphers he mailed out. For over half a century, top cryptographers from the FBI, the CIA, alongside literally thousands of amateur sleuths, all stared at these bizarre arrays of symbols, desperately trying to unlock the killer's mind.
So here's the crucial and honestly frustrating point. Even after this massive historic breakthrough in 2020, when a 3-person team finally deciphered that infamous 340-character message, the decoded text offered absolutely 0 clues to his actual identity. It revealed some really chilling boasts, like how he wasn't afraid of the gas chamber because it would send him to paradise, but no name. After 51 years of waiting for a smoking gun to emerge from those symbols, investigators were standing exactly where they started.
Let's jump back to that timeline of terror for a minute, because in September 1969, Zodiac changed his approach entirely. Instead of a sudden shooting in the dark, he approaches a couple in broad daylight at Lake Berryessa. And get this, he's wearing a bizarre, hand-stitched executioner-style hooded costume emblazoned with his signature cross-circle symbol. He tied up 2 innocent victims and brutally stabbed them. This became his most theatrical, calculated, and up-close attack yet, driven by this deep need for dramatic control.
By October of '69, he shifts tactics yet again in a way that fundamentally changed public safety. He moves away from the isolated lovers' lanes and commits a brazen, point-blank murder of taxi driver Paul Stine right in the middle of a wealthy San Francisco neighborhood. Afterward, he mailed in a piece of Stine's blood-stained shirt with his most horrific threat to date. He threatened to target a school bus full of children. As you can imagine, this sent the entire city of San Francisco into absolute panic. You had armed guards riding on buses and parents living in constant terror.
Now, over the decades, obviously a lot of suspects have emerged to fill the vast void of his identity. The most famous one was Arthur Lee Allen. He was heavily investigated and definitely matched physical descriptions, but the crucial DNA and handwriting evidence, it never matched. Fast forward a bit to 2021, and a team of independent investigators known as the Casebreakers claimed they identified the killer as an Air Force veteran named Gary Post. But, and this is a big but, the FBI has never officially confirmed this. So we're left with these prominent theories, but ultimately, they're dead ends lacking definitive forensic proof.
After years of this psychological manipulation and public taunting, Zodiac's last confirmed letter arrived in the mail in 1974. He praised the movie The Exorcist, signed off with a final cryptic score of Zodiac 37, SFPD 0, and then he simply vanished. No more correspondence, no more confirmed attacks. The trail just went completely ice cold, leaving the case officially unsolved to this very day.
Which leaves us here. Zodiac's last confirmed letter arrived in 1974. After that, he simply vanished. Maybe he died. Maybe he just stopped. The truth is, we may never know who he really was. Thanks for exploring this incredibly complex mystery with me today on This Explainer. Keep your curiosity sharp, and I'll catch you on the next one.